Hi, everybody. Welcome to the all new radio and television business report in focus video podcast. My name is Adam R. Jacobson. If this is the first time you're watching this podcast, thank you for spending time with us. I'm the editor in chief here at Broadcast Media's balanced voice for business, regulatory, and financial news every business day. You can find us online at rbr.com. The InFOCUS video podcast is presented by .fm, streaming, social, podcast to broadcast. Get a .fm domain name by heading over to get.fm today. And if you'd like to be a sponsor of this all-new podcast, well, feel free to contact me at adam@rbr.com, and I'll personally connect you with one of our relationship-building specialists here at Streamline Publishing. Now, our guest today is Otto Padrón. As the Radio and Television Business Report first shared on June the 24th, Padrón is joining Joel Wertman in taking on the role of co-president and co-owner of Get After It Media. He'll also take on an ownership stake in an operation largely known for its digital multicast networks. Why did Otto Padrón take a role like this? What is his vision for diginets in a world where fast channels are bringing fast money to video content providers across the U.S.? Well, let's get the answers right now as we welcome to the podcast Mr. Otto Padrón from his office in beautiful Burbank, California. It is great to see you, senor, and to be speaking with you about your new opportunity here on the podcast.
I don't know which of the many questions should I answer. Why did I leave Meruelo to get started on something different? What brings me back to television? I think you captured it when you said I made a move back to TV.
Well, let me first ask, Otto, for those not familiar with Get After It Media, it is the parent of such nationally distributed offerings as Retro TV, the Heartland Network, Revin, the Family Channel, and the Action Channel. So what in particular drove your desire to take on a role in which you're actively seeking to grow these digital multicast networks, especially at a time when we know there's cord cutting, but there's so much advertiser and, dare I say, IAB focus on the digital world. Certainly, there's an audience for these channels. You were drawn to them. So why?
Well, let's begin by first saying thanks for inviting me on. I've been kind of rehearsing a little bit what to do back on the screen. But no, thanks a lot, Adam. Always a pleasure to see you, to talk to you. It's always a great discussion that you and I can get lost in when we figure out this whole evolution of media, for lack of a better word. You and I started in a world where I think it was simpler. I think we were more worried about cable distribution and satellite distribution against terrestrial traditional media, and now so many other things we got to think about. So what brought me back, or what got me interested? Number one, I'd always been working for somebody else. So when Joel called me, and I hate to sound like a cliche movie line, but he made me an offer too hard to refuse when he said, look, this is not your next job. This is going to be your last job. And I'm like, okay, go there. And he goes, listen, I mean, you've been working for others. You've been building value for others. How about if for the first time in your career, you do it for yourself? And I'm going to make that available to you. You're going to become my partner, come on board, and let's get after it together. So to me, that was sort of, where to me, it just started and ended was when he said, get after it for yourself. And that was great, because then this collection, this curation of all these years of working and building large, not small, not medium, but very large media companies, and all the experience you've gathered on that journey became an opportunity for me to say, okay, now I'm going to put it to use for myself. And every ounce of energy, every hour, every minute, every second that I spend doing this, I'm doing it for myself, I'm doing it for my family, and I'm doing it as a collection of all the things that I've done before. So that began the conversation. That got serious when he said that. And then for me to get familiar with these diginets, I mean, I grew up with Retro. Retro was one of the first networks that actually exploited the multicast capabilities of moving from analog to digital. You know that. The minute, that 6 megahertz pipeline took on the personality of digital, where now you can not just air one channel in high definition 1080i, But if you play along with your bandwidth and your digi budget, as we like to call it around here, then you can do a lot more with that. So I grew up watching retro evolve when it first started, and how it started not just exploiting the great collections of content across the catalogs and across the libraries and across the vaults of many of the broadcasters that had premiered those decades before. Now I got an opportunity to kind of be part of that. So that, to me, I knew retro. We launched retro in LA. I helped Joe launch that on channel 22.2. And then when we bought 63 kbh at the time, then we kind of figured out that with more bandwidth, or at least more capabilities and more call letters, we can do a lot more. So I got familiar indirectly, and I got more and more intimately involved with Joel's plans to distribute his signal in LA. And when he started talking to me about the things that he had done across the country, where retro reaches 88 million homes, it makes it a story hard to ignore. And then right behind that, with the Heartland Network reaching close to 80, probably closer to 85, 84, depending on how we count those homes. So those are two mega platforms that are the driving force behind game. So again, as I got more familiar with this, I got more excited. And of course, being Joel's partner got me even more excited about, now for the first time in my 40 plus years of being involved in media, now I actually get a piece of the company that I'm working. So that's sort of.
So let me ask, there's a owned station roster, but you're also actively working with affiliate stations, correct?
Correct. We have about 360 affiliates with our 5 networks. So serving about 100, depending on how you see it, 100 markets. Then I also have an app. We have a very robust app, which is being developed. We're going to relaunch it as Heartland Plus. And that brings our suite of services, our very wide library of, we've got about 20,000 hours of content, of which 11,000 of those hours belong to us in perpetuity because of the acquisitions that, whether it was Lucan before that or Joel currently, he has gone about, acquiring asset rather than licensing assets. And that comes with, a back end, which I'm very familiar with. At Channel 22, we've refurbished a lot of the movies that we would get from Mexican producers, and we would actually take those negatives into the lab, and we would refinish those movies through the process of color correction and reassembling the movies from their original negative. So very familiar with that, because to some degree, Channel 22 out of LA, KY22 at the time, that's a little bit of what we did. On top of the fact that we connected a little bit more current affairs with our partnerships with the folks of Mexico Multimedios, which, as you know, own Multivision. Actually, Multimedios owns Milenio, which then becomes sort of a current affairs news. And
Otto, if we're looking today at the scheme of where your business growth and opportunities are, from an advertising standpoint, we're looking now across digital. We're looking at these diginets. You have affiliates, you have owned stations. How can the Get After It Media suite of digital broadcast television networks cut through the clutter, if you will? Because there's so many opportunities out there for advertisers. There are other companies, Weigel Broadcasting being one of them, that are in your space. How do you get through, and how are you growing the advertising, perhaps without even ratings, or going beyond that? Oh, you're 30.5, or how does a customer or a consumer in Boise, Idaho find you when you're a 0.7? Getting past all that noise and realizing there's an audience that you can sell. What is your plan of action for further monetization of these channels?
Well, number one, I think we both agree that with the digital evolution of content, the barrier to entry is so reduced, and now becomes an opportunity for you of discovery. So we have a very robust digital offering, and I'm expanding that. So that's priority number one for me. It's making sure that my platforms, my 5 platforms, with some changes that are coming very shortly, how I can expand access to the audience for my clients, which is, it's a philosophy that I've been developing, actually, that I've been exercising since my early days at Univision. So the first thing I'm going to do is, of course, I'm going to diversify the products that we're offering. We're reassessing the 5 networks to see where efficiencies can be achieved. And when I say efficiencies, how can I better serve my clients? How can I provide a value proposition for my clients they can't find somewhere else? So that's number one. So we're assessing the 5. Probably will end up very shortly collapsing, combining. 2, probably the least performer platforms that may be more like, we may end up doing that. So that's number one. Number 2 is, of course, which by the way should have been number 1, is how do I keep expanding my digital reach? How do I keep expanding my platform? How do I make a better digital widget? So conversations with the Samsungs, the connected conversations, the fast conversations. All of our products have a fast existence. I don't have to go back and recreate that because I have a timeline for that, and they already come pre-built. So I traffic traditional, so I'm taking the hybrid approach. So number 1 is continue to expand digital. Number 2, create efficiencies what we currently have. See if there's an opportunity to bring something into the basket of what we offer our clients. And then number 3, which again runs deep in my background, is how do I keep expanding my affiliate body? How do I keep expanding on that? So we've got 2 approaches to that. Number 1 is our own and operated. We've got 66 stations that we own About 60 of them have already been identified and ready to move at some point. But out of those, we've got about 37 of them which are already lit and operating. So I've got another 14 plus stations in that portfolio of 66 stations that are in the process of being lit or being hopped to a better market. So that's one easy way because that belongs to me. The other one is I'm looking at our body of affiliates. I just hired an affiliate relations person who now just does that. How do we create more efficiencies? How do we have a better experience for our current affiliates, which are roughly about 350, and there's about 60 owners that are part of those 315 affiliates that we have. Between those are, the Coca-Colas, even the Weigels of the world are partners on an affiliation relationship because there's so many channels you need to populate on any one given channel. We got the Coca-Colas and a couple of other groups, RNN, also part of our affiliate body. So I'm doing that. That's enough for now. I mean, I've been with the company officially for about a week, making these decisions, but that's the way we're going to attack it. Number 1 priority is digital. We're bringing in an ad tech expert that I just stole from somebody else. So we're about to drop that announcement shortly, and that's priority number 1. So we're going to reassess product because programming is what we do. And then number 2 to that is how we continue to optimize the suite of services. So you're going to see a channel change or network change to my 5 current networks. And I'll call you to let you know when that's happening. So you're going to help me get that out there. And then, of course, number 3, how do we optimize our current affiliate distribution? By the end of the year, I like to be in 100 homes. And I believe in cord cutters. I believe in discovery. And because digital is a priority for me, I believe that the way we'll get folks to discover our great product is by activating, or more specifically, because we don't want to waste circulation, how to activate a little bit more geo-targeting on my marketing through my digitals, through my social media, and through some bot digital advertising. So those are sort of the 3, and they've got multiple layers underneath that. You know better than I do. This is not a flat vacuum-filled environment. This is very complex. And something that you do activate something else or move something else. So you always have to be ready for those adjustments.
All right. We are here with Otto Padrón from Get After It Media, and we're going to take a quick commercial pause. We'll be right back after this message.
Stand out online? Get your .fm domain. Perfect for streaming your music, building your social community, hosting your podcast, or broadcasting your brand. Get.fm. It's your online destination. Get yours today at www.get.fm.
And we thank .fm again for presenting this radio and television business report in Focus podcast. I'm Adam R. Jacobson, the editor-in-chief at the Radio and Television Business Report, and we bring back to the stage from Burbank, California, Otto Padrón. It is great to have you here once again. Before we move forward with some questions about some of the things you've done in the past, I'm a little curious as to the Heartland Network in particular, because that seems to have some particularly active growth initiatives, which you've hinted on. What more can you share about that particular brand value?
Oh boy, you hit my fourth point, which is customizing and expanding the product, which comes back to programming, right? So between my first priority, which is expand my digital footprint, my second one was optimize current offerings, and that includes a little bit of programming. And then, of course, the third one is continue to work with our body of affiliates. Optimizing our product, which is my priority number two. And I'm sure there's going to be an opportunity where you and I can sit down and talk about my first 100 days. So put that on your calendar. That brings with it a unique product that Joel's been quietly working on, which is the transformation of the Heartland Network. He decided long ago that he did not want the Heartland Network to be a collection of curated product. He wants to be as much original in that space as possible. There is an opportunity because, as you know, other country, and we won't name names, but other country lifestyle facing networks have disappeared. And Joel is very committed because of his passion for music and his understanding of that particular industry, that he wants to make sure that the Heartland Network remains relevant, remains compelling, and above it all, remains top of mind for artists, as well as folks looking for the community, for the lifestyle of country. So the idea that we have internally, that we have already vocalized, and I spent a week in Nashville, is how do we plant the flag firmly in Nashville? You can't call the network the heart of country if you're not in the heart of country. So the first thing that we're doing, and you're going to hear about this too, is how do we plant the flag? And it's not going to be a small flag. It's going to be a big flag. And we're going to do it right in the center of Nashville, in a beautiful place that we're looking at, because we want to create our first digital studio on site. Mm-hmm. So that's one. So we want to convert the Heartland Network from being a diginet to being a biginet. And I mean that. We've got, we've already licensed original programming, anywhere between, food and well-being and that particular area, to music, interview. We've got, of course, the premier producer of country music, Kiss Stigal, who does for us an original show called High Dollar Hill. So we're going to continue to build on that. I'm developing 2 new shows with 2 unnamed artists, which are very current, very Nashville. And we're very connected to the CMAs. As I said, I spent a week there for the CMA Fest. It was an education for me to understand really the passion, the opportunities, and above it all, the need to represent a community nationally that probably can help our overall strategy. So to me, the Heartland Network is, from a content perspective, is priority number 1. So as I look at my second priority, which is how to optimize the product, is how do we continue to resource the Heartland Network to bring more original content, more relevant content, and above it all, fill the need of networks that have disappeared, that are no longer serving that particular community.
Otto, for some, you might be considered a radio guy because you're coming from Meruelo Media, where you were working at such assets as KLOS and Cali and Power 106. Of course, earlier in your career, you were the Senior Vice President of Programming for Univision. From fall 1992 through summer of 1995, you were the Director of Programming at Telemundo. So that's, some pretty heavy duty experience, but why go television, especially today?
Why? I'm sorry.
Why are you going back to television after all this time? And you have most recently experience in the audio world. Wouldn't you want to do something in the exciting world of podcasting, or maybe there's like some video opportunity in the digital sphere? You're going to diginets, and some might be scratching their head, going, "What are you doing, man?"
I,
Obviously you have a plan of action, but what is it about television in particular and the video content creation and distribution platform that makes it still so robust and exciting for consumers and advertisers?
so let me begin by saying the company you see today, Get After It Media, you see today is not going to be the same company you're going to see in 6 months. So let me just give you that headline. When you say, Otto, I think of you, when I think of you, number one, major market. I mean, this company is based out of Chattanooga. So we're going to be making a migration there because we are the small diginet with a big network mentality. So the company you see today will not be the same company you'll see in 6 months. That's my personal goal. I'm shooting for that. As a matter of fact, I have a countdown clock that says how many days I have till I launch for fall. So my September 9th, September 8th time frame, 9/8 is a Mason-Dixon line for me to redefine the way we see ourselves. And the way we see ourselves, by the way, from a company that's got roots as early as the early 2000s and expanded in 2009 when the digital environment exploded, when we flipped from analog to digital and broadcast. So the company we see today, and I'll repeat this a couple more times, the company we see today won't be the same company I'll be leading in the next 6 months. That's number one. Number two, do I see me? Absolutely. I see this company being extremely hybrid. So we are launching a brand of podcasting. Keith Stegall will be my first project. As a matter of fact, we've already been ripping a lot of that. So we're going to have a creator network on the audio side. In the last 13 years, I've become a fan of audio through radio. Absolutely will look at opportunities, as I did with Meruelo. When I came on board at Meruelo, I came on board to supersize Channel 22 at the time. As you recall, Fox and RCN Colombia had decided to launch a Spanish language network competing against Univision, Telemundo. At the time, Azteca was still around. And Estrella was beginning to sort of become larger under the Lieberman regime. So I came on board, originally came to Meruelo as an opportunity to supersize Channel 22, make it the flagship for the network. My understanding of network television, not quite my understanding of local television, was a bit of a handicap for me, but I was able to sort of convince Alex that what we wanted to do was build a media company and not operate a local TV station. Alex, in his brilliance, accepted my challenge. And then we went to work. We launched August of 2012. We launched Mundo Fox, and shortly thereafter, probably about a year later, I'm already talking, to the owners of K-Day to bring K-Day to our Meruelo Media cluster, and that's how it all began. I mean, but it began from the rib of KY Channel 22, and from there we grew. Why did I believe that was the way to go? Because I thought, as I had lived it and operated it at Univision, we couldn't be a single source. We needed to have multiple networks. So at Univision, we ended up getting the very dealer USA Broadcasting. And at the time, we brought in all these other separate stations that had been part of an independent network called USA Broadcasting. And we flipped that into what originally was known as Telefutura and now known as Unimas. So we did that. And then we bought the radio group from the Ticheners. So that ended up giving us a supersized company that had multiple touch points to our audience, multiple access to our clients, to an audience that's hard to reach. So to me, the same philosophy applies to game. We're launching a record label. Why? Because we've got the Heartland Network, which is very connected to the music world. And Joel's background, of course, as you probably researched, it has a lot to do with music. Music supervisor for Happy Days, all the way to the guy responsible for launching Bush, the
Goo Goo Dolls.
The Goo Goo Dolls. I mean, the man speaks music like I speak television. So that's one thing that's happening. So again, creating multiple opportunities to develop. We believe in experiential, so we're doing a couple of things in Nashville that will help us bring some of the artists and create an experience that then allows us to do other things. We're also launching the Ranger. Has nothing to do with me being military, but the Ranger Media Collective, which I came to understand that was already in motion. So we're creating a label, a digital label for the millennial generation of content creators, just like what Reese Witherspoon launched at MIP and Cannes, a month ago. She's launching this platform that will then bring all these social media influencers, and I enjoy being around them at Nashville. I mean, the things they taught me and the way they consume media is it's very different than the way we consume it. But there was one thing in common: if it's compelling, relevant content, they'll consume it. So we got to find a way to tweak that and bring a little bit of that into the Heartland Network, which is my current, as I like to call it, it's my Power 106 of all my stations. It's the one that plays current, or the Cali, which plays current. In the case of my previous existence, I had Cali. I had K-Day that played some of the best throwbacks, and KLOS that if you wanna talk classic rock, that's where it starts. So anyway, so those are the ways that we have, at least that I've envisioned, moving the company forward, and that's why I'm back in television, not because of it being television, but because on the shoulders of broadcasting, on the shoulders of this 89 million reached homes shoulders, I can build something else. I can use it as a platform to discovery of all the other things that we want to do, because this domain needs you to multicast. And I'm not talking about multicast, 7 channels in a broadcast 6 megahertz spectrum, but multicast across the entire digital spectrum. Mm-hmm. And by the way, something else that we're also looking into is how do we get into local television? You mentioned our friends of Weigel. They also have local stations. So they have one opportunity, although they don't do it the way I want to do it, and I won't discuss that. I think that there is a way that you can be multiple touch points, a little bit of the traditional, but yet inject into that the evolving media that comes with, with technology that's changing every day. And I'm not just talking about artificial intelligence.
Well, we have exactly 2 minutes left in this podcast. So my last and most important question for you, Mr. Padrón, is if you had a choice between a croqueta, medianoche, or boliche, which one would you choose?
Croqueta, medianoche, boliche. You didn't put in there un pastelito de coco, right? You didn't put a coconut.
That is not part of the discussion. No.
Okay, gotcha. I would do, when you say boliche, you're talking about the meat boliche, or you're talking about the piece of bread?
Hot roast.
Oh. I will still do a great ham croqueta. Una croqueta de jamón. Nothing comes close to that.
All right. You get yourself to Miami. Otherwise, I'm going to have to travel to Gilbert's in beautiful Glendale, California.
No, it's Porto's.
Porto's.
Gilbert's is
Miami.
Gilbert's is Miami. Porto's.
All right. Thus concludes the Cuban culinary discussion of this podcast. Otto Padrón, it is such a pleasure to be speaking with you. Best of luck in your new endeavors with Joel Wertman at Get After It Media.
Adam, thank you for having me. Look forward to my second podcast, which will be 100 days later.
We'll hold you to that. Maybe we'll see you at Forecast in November as well. Are you planning on that?
I'll be there. Hopefully, we'll be able to talk about the future of media there.
Yeah, that is Streamline Publishing's Forecast Conference. You can learn more at www.radiotvforecast.com. Go over there right now because we're saying goodbye to Otto Padrón for now. Great to see you, sir. And with that, we want to thank you for tuning into this InFOCUS video podcast presented by the Radio and Television Business Report, sponsored by .fm. Streaming, social, podcast, or broadcast, get a .fm domain name by heading over to get.fm today. The InFOCUS podcast is copyright 2025 by Streamline Publishing and is produced and distributed on the StreamYard platform. From Boca Raton, Florida, headquarters of Streamline Publishing, home of both Radio Inc. and the Radio and Television Business Report, I'm Adam R. Jacobson. And be sure to find us on rbr.com every business day for the latest from broadcast media's balanced read. We'll see you next time.